Hi, I'm Winston, and welcome to the Real Estate Template. Today we're here with a friend of mine, Billy Bryan, and local guy, native to Tennessee, and we're going to let him share a little bit of his story. He is an entrepreneur, so he teaches school for his number one job. Then he started a business landscaping, and then he didn't like the heat of the landscaping, so he started another business called Fishy Business, which he does aquariums and fish. And then he got involved in real estate several years back, and he's been working that business since then. So he's working a little bit of all of it at one time. So why don't you share a little bit of your story?
Well, started out pretty much, I guess, like you. I grew up in Kentucky. Didn't have a lot growing up, so kind of muddled our way through. So that's kind of my background as far as, I guess, financials go. It didn't want to make it seem like that I had money. I had nothing when we started. So when I first started teaching, we came here in 2001, and I made $18,000 a year. $18,000 a year plus housing. So they have a little duplex on Hogan's Branch, and we got to stay there for a year. So, but that's all we had. That's all I made. My wife worked as well, but
so you was making $18,000 a year. Nowadays, if you got somebody fresh out of college coming to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you if they ain't gonna make $60,000 a year. It's kind of crazy how it is nowadays.
I know, and I paid for myself to go back to school and get a master's degree. So you have to be good with money when you're making $18,000 a year. But one thing that I talk to the kids about in our school when I teach on a section on economics is how you can't waste money. You have to, if you start your life and you're just wasting money and wasting money and wasting money and wasting money, 10 years down the road, you're not going to have anything. I mean, so you have to make the choice at the beginning. I'm going to sacrifice for the first 10 years or so. I'm going to save money, because you have got to get to a point where you have something, so that when a bank or an investor comes along and they see you, they say, this person is good with money. They don't waste money. They don't, buy trivial things and waste it.
So how hard is that to get the kids to understand that in a world of entitlement where everything is instant gratification?
I tell them, I said, you guys, you're going out to eat all the time, and then you come home and you're just pooping it down the toilet. You're taking your money,
literally,
and you're literally pooping it away. And so, but they just keep going out to eat. They keep going to those fast food restaurants. They just keep wasting that money. They want to buy a new car. They want the, fancy clothes. And 10, 15 years down the road, what do you have? I mean, you're probably fat now, and you outgrew the clothes, and your car is old.
And all that money you would have saved, you spent on medical bills, trying to take care of yourself because they're so unhealthy.
No, and so I didn't do that. And maybe it was just the way that I was raised or brought up, or just the situation we were in as kids, that we saw money as more valuable. So it's like, I'm going to hold on to it. And it was always in my mind that when I first started I'm going to need this later. So I need to hold on to it.
Are you still that way?
Yes. Yeah. I drove an old van here.
So part of our biggest argument in my household is my wife going out and buying Starbucks coffee pots. And it's like $12 or whatever, $20 for a box of 12 is like $1 a cup, $2 a cup. And I am all over that. I'm like, we are not spending $1 for a cup of coffee at our own house. And she's like, you're just ridiculous. No, that's how I live.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give and take her a little bit in marriage. But yeah, I mean, that's the way I am. And my wife knows that. She knows that, if I'm going to the grocery store, I'm only getting the things on the list because, I just don't want to. Just the way I am. And so, but when I started my businesses, I learned that, and this is one thing that stuck with me, is that every dollar I made, I could take that and reinvest it and it would bring me more money. And so I would take the money, and I tell people the first 3 to 5 years that you own a business, you're probably not going to make anything if you're doing it right, because you're going to take that money and you're going to reinvest it constantly. I didn't make anything. But after 5 years, okay, now we're making enough that we can start putting it away and saving it. And so
I listened to a podcast. There's a guy in Canada. I don't remember what his podcast name was, but he was talking about his dad taught him to view his money like little soldiers. He said, you take those soldiers and you send them out to war to go defeat something. They bring all those hostages back, and they make more soldiers out of those hostages. And he just kept talking about that. It was kind of a funny scenario, but it's true. You got to send them out there, let them do their work, let it come back, and you still don't get to enjoy that just yet. You got to send it back out again.
And one thing, when I was, as a teacher, you have to constantly go back to school. And I was a history teacher, and so I had to go back to school, and I decided to take a class on the Renaissance. And this changed my life, believe it or not.
Really?
It's crazy. But I was, taking the class on the Renaissance and just learning about it. And the thing that started the Renaissance were the banks. So I said, oh, this is interesting. And so what happened was the sailors, the merchants, would come to the banks, and they would borrow money from the banks. Then they would go to the Middle East to purchase all of these products that you couldn't get in Europe. And they would come back and resell it for more and make a massive profit. And I started thinking to myself, would I borrow, we're in Dave Ramsey country here, so, don't borrow anything. And I thought to myself, wait a second. Would I borrow $10,000 to make $100,000? The answer is, yeah, I absolutely would. Would I borrow $100,000 to make $1 million? Well, yeah, absolutely I would. And so it kind of got in my mind that borrowing money is not the devil. You can take that ability to borrow money and use it to make more money. And I saw that in my own businesses. I said, wait a second, if I borrowed money and purchased something that has value in itself, so I know it's not going to just, I'm not going to borrow money and buy a car. I mean, that's not wise.
Mm-hmm.
Borrow money and buy real estate.
You're borrowing the money to buy something that makes you money.
Right. This product is going to retain its value, and not only retain its value, it's going to increase in value, and I can use it to make even more money. And then at the, if I decide to sell it in 10 years, it's going to be worth much more than it was when I bought. I'm not losing anything. And so I thought, okay, would I borrow money to buy something like real estate, something that's not going to lose value? And so I thought, yeah, I think I would. And so that kind of got in my mindset that borrowing money is not the devil. In fact, borrowing money is what created the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is what created basically everything that we have around us, was this time period in history where banks started borrowing money.
So all debt ain't bad.
No. And the richest guys in that time period were the bankers.
Yeah. I think that's still the case today, right? And the government keeps bailing them out. So tell me, when you started your fish business, how much money did you have? How much money did you put into it? There's a lot of people watching the video that's thinking, I don't have enough money to start a real estate business. I don't have enough money to this. Everybody is stuck on what they don't have rather than understanding what they do have. So I would love to be able to give the people watching the video a thought on, this is what it really takes to start something, and even different avenues, whatever you think.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, when I first started the landscaping, that's really the first thing that I did. I had a friend that was doing mowing. He said, hey, why don't you do like the mulch and the flower beds, things like that? You can have, I'm going to give you my customers because I hate doing that. I don't want to do that. I just want to mow. I said, okay, that's fine. I mean, it sounded like a great idea. So when I did my first mulching job, I borrowed the trailer. I had a truck, had an old truck that someone gave me. I borrowed the trailer. I borrowed a pitchfork. I borrowed the wheelbarrow. Only thing I bought was the mulch. That's it. So I went and I did that client, and I made a good amount of money from it. And I took that money and I went and bought a trailer and, various types of equipment. So I had
You
nothing.
didn't enjoy the money. You just went and put the money into your business.
No, I didn't use any of it because I didn't have it. I thought I want to do more of these. I think, I was making $30 to $40 an hour doing landscaping, and somebody making $18,000 a year, $30 to $40 is, it's a good deal. And so I thought I want to do more, but I can't borrow somebody's stuff all the time. So I thought I'll take this money and I'll go buy my stuff. So I think I did maybe 2, and I took all that money and I bought some hedge trimmers or whatever. So basically I started with nothing, but I took the money and then I invested. And then I started making money and I had a little bit set aside. And so that's when, I maybe did it 2 years and in the middle of summer, and I thought, man, this is hot. And my brother worked at a business, a fish aquarium business, and he got to work in the air conditioning. I thought that's what I need to do. And so I bought one aquarium. I think I bought one for $150.
Okay, so your entry to that was your brother was working in a fish store.
Yes.
And you looked and you saw some opportunity.
Similar business. Yeah, my brother and his friends started a business renting fish aquariums.
Okay.
So they would go and they set up an aquarium at a doctor's or dentist office, and they would pay them a rental fee to care for it.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, it sounds like a good idea, I can try it. So, I went and bought a couple of used aquariums and had my wife out there trying to get people to let us set the aquariums up, and we got a couple people that did it, and they loved them. And so we thought, well, we'll try to get more. We got a few more, but then they started calling their friends. Hey, have you heard about this guy? So, have you heard about this guy? Have you heard about this guy? And so we started getting more and more and more. And then I got some at, some prominent places, some restaurants and things like that. And I was able to put a little plaque on there, said my name. And that really started a snowball effect. I mean, it took 15 years, but.
Well, I know when I rented one from you, it came with one of the photo things in it that
was one of
would just keep moving different photos. You give you the photos you wanted, and it would just be photos of my family or photos of the business that would just keep foaming through it.
We came up with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of the thing that we started with. We said, well, how about we'll put some digital frames in there, digital things, and maybe we can do advertising, or we can do things like photographs and things like that. Just you're always, as a business owner, looking to how can we expand, how can we do something different, and grow and grow and grow.
So as a business owner, that is a very good comment right there. So as a business owner, life is never stagnant. You never look at it and say, I arrived.
I've worked, I'll tell you, I worked 7 days a week probably for the last 10, 15 years, every day.
Do you regret that?
No, I don't. But
I smile on that because I do the same, and I don't know what else to do. I go nuts if I sit at home. I just can't do it.
I think, you even more, because I know your story about how you grew up, but you feel like you have to. I mean, it's not like, and that's okay with you, it's just something I have to do, and that's not a bad thing. It's just, that's normal life. And so you're like, okay, I have to go do this. If I want to accomplish something, if I want to accomplish this goal, if I want to take care of my family, if I want, when I get old, have something, I just got to.
So we're talking about a mindset that we hold. We're not talking about a mindset that, hey, if I want to be an entrepreneur, this is what I got to do. You definitely got to do it for a period of time, for sure. But your lifestyle will be your lifestyle, what you make it. Ours tends to gravitate to work. I mean, I didn't have anything to go do on Sunday, and my wife will tell you I spent 7 hours outside splitting firewood for my whole day. I spent it, and I don't have a fireplace in my house. But I had some trees that were down with the storm, and I said, rather than just throw them away, I'm going to cut them up. I'll make some firewood. We got an Airbnb that we can bring them some firewood, and they can do little fire pits outside. We'll just use it for another purpose, and ultimately it will make me money.
Right.
But it's not for any specific purpose for me in general.
Same thing with me. I come home and I can't just come home and just sit.
Yeah.
What am I going to do now? So I would go do something. There's always stuff to do around our property that we own. So, I'm always looking for things to do, always working. But, you know, I mean, it's not that we don't take vacations and things like that. I mean, we'll rest. I'll take, you know, a day off here or there and we'll rest. But it's just a, you know, it is a lifestyle. And at this point, I don't know I can't just sit around. I mean, you get bored. I tell people, why do you work so much? I don't know. I just get bored. Just sitting, or you feel like you're wasting your life, and we're only here for a short amount of time.
So let's talk about your entry into real estate. So you did the landscaping business, and you went into the fish business for about 15 years. Successful business. You still run that business today.
I do.
So you never got rid of it. It's a successful business. You just running it. Got an employee managing it, or
my son.
So your son's running that business now for you.
Okay. I'll do stuff on the weekends. Like I said, I work 7 days a week. So I'll do the difficult things. That in the aquarium business, when you got water and you know this, you don't want accidents to happen. And so I do the things that if an accident happened, it would be a big deal. So I need to go and take care of it and make sure that something negative doesn't happen. So I'll do the big, really, really large tanks that if they start leaking, that would be really, really bad. Or I'll do the types of things that it's hard for me to trust my son to do. Not that he's not capable, but, you know, some things you want to do yourself.
I understand.
So I'll do those things. So, yeah. But my entry to real estate was at your house. I don't know if you remember it. So maybe you do, but we were looking for some land to build on. And my wife wanted to live on, you know, some land. But at the time, I didn't feel like I could afford to buy a huge piece of land and then build a house on it, things like that. And so, and all the land that we were looking at was just pretty overpriced. And so we were at your house, and Beth said, "Hey, look at this house on Happy Hollow Road." And so we looked at it, and it was a really, you know, rundown old farmhouse. And she said, "Hey, Winston, why don't you go over with us, you know, Bill, and show him the house." And I could tell it in your eyes. You didn't want to go.
Well, I had already looked at, so this was 16 acres, right? 17 acres.
Yeah.
So it had an old house on it, and I had went and looked at the house and looked at the land, and I saw that it could be a good land development deal. But I had a bunch of irons in the fire. I could not do that deal at that particular point in time.
Yeah. But you came over with me anyway.
Oh, I don't mind going over with you. That's not, it's not at all that I minded doing that.
Yeah.
I think I'm more concerned about getting somebody involved in something that they could possibly lose their money. I think that would be my biggest concern with anything that I even do today. If I say something that makes somebody make a bad business decision, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I know you were super busy, but you came over anyway with this guy that, but just a friend, you know, and that, super appreciative of that you would come over and take your time to look under the house, and we helped us get into it. And we looked around, and we saw the house. The house was obviously pretty bad shape, but it had 17 acres. So I thought, okay, so maybe what I can do is, take this land.
This is not a normal 17 acres, by the way. This is a very, very, very challenging piece of property. The topography was extremely steep.
Yes, it was.
But it was very gorgeous all the way around.
Yeah. So I thought, hey, maybe we can subdivide it. And I can take 5 acres, and then I can sell up the rest and make a great deal. And so me and my wife went over one day, and we started walking around. I don't know if anybody had ever walked around the property because it was so overgrown, blackberry bushes. I mean, it was just, it was tough to get through it.
I remember it.
And so, but we walked up to the top of the hill and looked out, and we saw the view pretty a lot like your view now. And we thought, we'd love to live here. But how are we going to make this happen? So that's when, that's when we went ahead, and good thing I had a good amount of cash saved at the time. And so I think that was one of the keys that I mentioned to you was that, through my
middle school teacher, still got his fish business. So nothing drastic. I mean, it's just really saving money.
Right.
Has you in a position, and that was what, $165,000 for that land, something like that.
The house and the land was 260.
260. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm missing about 100 grand.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's about
A
100.
third,
Yeah.
basically.
But it's, this is Nashville.
Mhm.
It's right outside of Nashville, and it's 17 acres with a house on it for $260,000.
Yep.
So that, if you know anything about Nashville real estate, that's
That's a popular area. That road's a popular.
yes. Yeah. And so we good thing I had a good amount of cash saved. I couldn't pay for the entire thing with cash, but when you go to a bank and you say, look, I've got $60,000-$70,000 in cash, then they look at that and that looks impressive to them.
Mhm.
Rather than I go to the bank and I have $1,000.
That's
I
true.
don't have anything. And they look at you and say, okay, this person is not wasting their money. They're good with money. And so we were able to make that deal, even though we owned our own house. And we didn't make a large amount of money. I was a school teacher. My wife was working, I think, at a doctor's office as a receptionist. So, but we had the aquarium business, and which didn't show a huge amount of profit, but a little decent amount of profit. So that combined with the cash, the bank said, okay, we'll let you borrow the money. And so we were able to go ahead and purchase the land, and then the fun began because we had to develop the land.
So when you rehabbed the house, he did a complete rehab on the house and then sold the house.
I did.
How much did you sell that house for?
160.
160. That's where my 160 came into. So now you only got $100,000 basically
We're 12 acres.
invested in the land.
Mm-hmm. And I was able to divide that into 3 lots. So now you have each lot being about $33,000.
That's some good land cost.
That is for the area. I mean, 5 acres right now is selling for what, 200 to 250.
Yeah, at least.
And I got it for 33. So that was a good land cost there. So then we were able to start our real estate journey there. So ended up building our house here in Tennessee. I don't know what the laws are in other places, but you can build your own house if you're going to live in it.
Without a contractor's license.
You don't need a contractor's license. And so I was able to build our own house.
Did you sell those other 2 tracts of land?
I sold one of them. I couldn't sell the other one because of topography. People just couldn't. They just didn't have the vision to.
I love land like that.
I do too.
I'm building one right now, same situation.
And so I went ahead and said, look, if nobody else is going to build on it, I'm going to build on it. So I eventually got my contractor's license. We built that house, turned it into an Airbnb. And then I bought back the other property that I'd sold. The guy that bought it from me was a pilot. And COVID happened. And some life changes for airline pilots and things like that. And he was about to retirement. And he changed his mind. He said, look, some things in life have happened. I'll go ahead and sell it back to you. He sold it back to me for more than I sold it to him, but he was very kind. He didn't. I mean, he could have sold it for more.
Yeah.
So he sold it to me for more than he paid, but he definitely could have asked for more. And I went ahead and bought that back and then built another house on it. So the only way that I could afford to buy that land back was to get a construction loan. Land loans are a little bit, from what I understand, a little bit more difficult to get than a construction loan. So went to the bank, said, look, I'm going to build a house. And so then I took the construction loan money and I used that to buy the land and then build that other house. So turned that into an Airbnb too. So we have 2 Airbnbs.
So on that one piece of land, he took and rehabbed the one house and sold that house, reinvested that cash back into the property. Then he built his personal residence there, which you sold your other house that helped you build the personal residence too. And then he built 2 more Airbnbs on that property that are rented every single weekend, right?
Right.
So they stay rented and they 16 people?
16 people.
So each one of those houses he built holds 16 people. So that gives you you know, it's a nice rental check whenever you get that. So
Yeah. No, it's definitely helpful.
you
Yeah.
know,
And so the everything that I don't I don't spend money unless I believe that that money will return me money.
Mhm.
As far as cars go, houses, everything we do. And the beautiful thing about real estate is when you buy a house, I mean, normally speaking, and this is, I mean, unless there's strange circumstances, when you buy a house, in 10 years, you're going to sell it for more than you bought it for.
Mhm.
You're living rent-free somewhere. And, why rent when you can buy a house? If you got to live somewhere, you buy a house. In 10 years, you're going to sell it for more than you bought it for. So you live rent-free and you make money. And
I agree.
so that's an awesome investment.
So last year you bought another home,
I did.
a rehab,
I did.
and that was what? How big a house was that? It was a pretty big house.
3,800 square feet.
So 3,800 square foot house.
Yeah.
And going into that deal was an absolute awesome opportunity.
Yes.
And then in the middle of that deal, interest rates came in
Yes.
and
When we bought the deal,
smacked you in the face, I guess I would say.
Yeah, the interest rates were 3.5%, 4%, whatever. In between 3 to 4%. I can't remember what they were. And so, it's a great deal. It's in Nashville. It was a 2.5 acre to over 2.5 acres of land, 3,800 square foot home, not an old home, just basically.
No, it's a beautiful home.
Yeah, basically just the renovations for just painting and things like that, updating the, lighting and stuff like that. But not a huge renovation, and we got a great deal on it. So I thought this is a home run, But I mean, almost as soon as we signed those papers, let's double the interest rate, and so the Fed just kept raising that interest rate. And so now I'm over there every night trying to get this thing done as quick as possible, so we can put it on the market while the interest rates aren't too high. But, it took about 8 weeks on the rehab. It's 3,800 square foot home. So it took us about 8 weeks to do everything. And that's
not bad.
That's a decent amount of time. And so, but by that point, the interest rates had doubled. So from 3 to 6, 7, in between 6 and 7. So that means all those people that were buying a 3,800 square foot home, now they've gone down a level. So now they're only buying a $500,000 to $600,000 home instead of
And we had another scenario. We had that scenario in there that the buying pool for that size of house went down, way down.
Mm-hmm.
Then also the people that were buying those houses were giving way more than asking price too. So there was 2 scenarios that slapped you at the exact same time right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it took what? 3 months to sell?
I mean, total it took 7 months.
7 total months to sell?
From the point that we bought it until we sold it was 7 months.
Okay. So when you sold it, you still made a profit.
Still made a profit.
You didn't make what you was hoping to make off of it by any means.
No, not
but you didn't lose any money.
I didn't lose.
Did you learn some lessons?
I did.
So that is the coolest thing. I mean, if you can go into a deal like that, and I mean anything and everything that could smack you in the face did it on that project, and it wasn't anything that was ever something that was controllable by you.
Right.
It was the whole market changed when you bought the house, and everything went south. Right. But in the same sense, you bought right, and because you bought right, you didn't lose anything in the end.
Right.
You still got paid a little bit.
Right.
But what would you say the educational gain from the mistakes or from the different things that you see through that, how is that going to affect you in the future?
Well, I mean, a couple of things. Number one, I learned how to do things myself. So, and usually when you're hiring subs, you're letting them do it. Well, as you see the profit margin coming down, you're like, well, looks like I'm going to be doing this myself. And so I did. I learned how to do things myself. Got on YouTube and found out that, hey, doing some of these things isn't as difficult as it seems. So and
And you got your contractor's license. You got your contractor's license during this project, right? Not before.
no, I do.
You had gotten it before? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I got the contract during the development of my house in the 17th.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's so, some of the things that I like to hire subs to do a lot of things because, like I say, they're doing these things every day.
Yeah, they're proficient.
And so, I can come in. Can I do it? Yes, probably. Can I do it? Will I do as good as they do? Probably not. Because they're doing something. Somebody does something every day for 10 years. They better be good at it. And so you know the subs that they're good at it, and they do it every day and they do it fast. And so so I hire subs that do the things that I don't think that I can do as well as they can do. But then there's some things that I can, or I can learn how to. Same with the aquarium business. I knew a little bit about aquariums, but I didn't know a ton.
Are you an expert now?
I'm an expert now.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, you don't have to know, you don't have to know about the business. You learn. You learn something. I went and talked to my brother, and he trained me a little bit, and talked to another friend of ours. So they taught me a little bit, and then I just jumped right into it and learned as I went. And of course, they were resources. Hey, this has happened, that has happened. Can you help? What do you think? You have people around you, but you don't have to know everything to do something. I didn't know anything about building a house. I knew you. I knew I could call you, and you would help me and walk me through some things. But
you call me minimal. I mean, you throughout everything you've done. I mean, we've talked a few times on a lot of stuff. I've never really told you how to do anything. I mean, we talk about it.
Hey, what do you think about
You've taken it and run with every bit of it.
Right. No, I mean, I would call you if things were pretty serious. Hey, Winston, what do you think about this? And you'd give me, advice here or there and things like that.
So the average person watching this video, some people want to break into real estate. Some people want to be an entrepreneur. They want to do something other than what they're doing. They don't know what way is the right way, what way is the wrong way. My attitude is, if you got no money, you got to find a way to make a little bit of money. If you can be a car mechanic, then go into mechanic in some cars, do that right there. Maybe if you do paint and body work, buy an old banger, fix it up, sell it, make some money, repeat, rinse, repeat, and find a way to get you the money. Do you think, I don't want to say anybody can do real estate, but do you think that most people, if that's what they wanted to do with little to no experience, could step into this realm, slowly educate themselves, and build a multi-million-dollar portfolio?
Absolutely. I did it. I mean, I grew up basically, my dad died when I was in 6th grade, raised by a single mom. I knew nothing about building anything. When I built my first deck, I went and got under somebody's deck and looked and saw how it was. Said, I think I can do that. So then I went and did it. And so I knew nothing about building anything. And so, yeah, absolutely. Anybody can do it. Why wouldn't you be able to do it? You just have to have in your mindset that money mindset that we talked about, that you can't go into something and you don't have money and you go and just start borrowing money and just throwing it at things. That you have to have a plan. You have to, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and you start small.
Are you goal oriented?
I'm long-term goal oriented.
That's
big.
And I coach people, and that's one of my biggest things when I'm coaching. I want to know what you got going 10 years from now. I really don't care about right now. Tell me what you want, where you want to go. We can get you on that path to get you where you want to go. But if you don't know where you want to go, it's very hard to build a bridge if you can't see the other side of the river.
Right. If you don't have a vision, then how do you know where you're going?
Yeah.
Or you're just kind of pedaling your feet here. You don't, I'm always wanting to go somewhere. And so that's what drives my wife crazy sometimes. Is
mine too.
I want to get here, and I need your help for us to get here. And so, let's spend money.
Yeah.
But we want to get here. And if we, just waste money here, then
you never achieve. And then you work until you're 65, 70 years old, trying
Right.
to figure out how you're going to live off of Social Security, which may or may not exist by that point.
If you live that.
Yeah. So our purpose is to let you understand as an audience that we're normal people like everybody else out there. Both of us came from nothing pretty much and have built successful businesses. And I'm saying businesses plural because I've built businesses and Bill has built businesses, not just one, multiple businesses. And it is all about you and what you want to achieve and what you want to do and what you're willing to sacrifice to achieve this goal that you set for yourself. If you're a married person and your spouse needs to be on board with that, what if if your wife was not on board with that, you'd be divorced. You'd be divorced or you'd be broke, one or the other.
Right.
Because it doesn't work when one side wants it and the other side doesn't want it.
Now, she's got to be right there with you.
So,
And she was. I mean, my wife was one of those that, I mean, if I'm shoveling, then she would, grab a shovel and she's right there with me. So, yeah, they've got to be on yours. They can't, because you're taking risks. You're taking risks and doing things could go wrong. I mean, let's be honest.
and a lot of times things do go wrong.
Things could go wrong. And so you're taking a risk. And if she's constantly pulling you this way or that way or this way, instead of helping you and supporting you, then it's going to be a rough time.
So in month number 7, was there some stress in your marriage on trying to sell that house in month number 6 or 7?
Well, yeah, a little bit.
It gets pressing, but she still got to support you.
Right. And she really was supportive. But I mean, at that point, what else can you be?
Yeah.
I mean,
you can't quit.
No, you can't quit. I mean, you own this thing, and you're making the payments every month, and so what do you do other than you've got to be on board at that point? But she was with me when we bought it. And so she helped me make that decision. And she saw that it was a good deal too. She loves real estate too. She likes to look at houses.
Yeah.
And so she knew that was a good deal. And so she was with me. But, month 7, your prayer life gets pretty good about month 7.
I bet it does.
Because you see, you're paying those interest payments. And, we had high interest payments that we did. Because we thought, hey, there's a lot of cushion here, let's do the deal. But it ended up not being as much as we thought. But yeah, I mean, there was some stress. I mean, there's some sleepless nights. I mean, let's be real. There's some sleepless nights when it comes to real estate sometimes because you have problems you're trying to solve. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And then, of course, money, gets involved, especially when things don't go how you thought that they would.
So the stress happens, the sleepless nights happens,
Absolutely.
The different issues happen, but all in all, you call me this weekend or you send me a text message this weekend saying, "Hey, I'm looking at property, I'm looking at this." We don't quit. We see the potential that's there, and there's so much potential there.
Right.
And everything we do educates us to do something better. So we got just another minute or so on this right here. Do you have something you could share that could help somebody starting their own business, a word or two that would?
My biggest thing would be, especially for the young people, is you got to start off with that mindset. You can't waste that first 10 years of your life that you're making money and you're just completely throwing it away. You need to tell yourself no. And I know telling yourself no is the hardest person to tell.
Yeah.
Because, if you've ever tried on going on a diet, that's the case. Telling yourself no, but you have got to tell yourself no for 5-10 years so that you can build up some cash to be able to do things with. You've got to have something. Unless you inherit something, you have to earn something to have so that you can go. And now I would have never been able to make that deal had I not done that. Mm-hmm. So that was my key is that I had the cash available. So then I was able to make that deal. It's a lot easier to make that deal because I had been smart and I had sacrificed and I had not done things and had that piece of money. So then, now I can make the deal. So when the opportunity comes, you have to be ready to make the deal. If you're not, then it's just going to pass you right by.
I remember when I was younger, I could save up $4,000, $5,000. It would take me forever to save up $4,000. And by the time I saved it up, I was so discouraged because all I had was $4,000 after saving for a year. This is when I was making $8 an hour, $7 an hour. And I got $4,000. I'm like, I go pull all the money out and go buy something stupid for my car. And then a month later, I'm all upset about it. I got no money in the bank. And you start, and I did that several times before I realized, you know what? Stop doing the stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Hold the investment and make it work for you.
Right.
So,
yeah, that. And then another thing was we live in a capitalist country. I mean, we do. That's just the way it is. So you have to have money to make money. You have to have capital. And so I would tell the younger people to invest in yourself. I mean, that's an important thing. You've got to invest in yourself. You're going to pay for education. Either you're gonna actively pay for it. You go get a mentor, things like that, or you're gonna make dumb mistakes and then wish that you had.
Pay for it there too.
You're gonna pay for it there. So I made a lot of.
You can fail your way forward and make it very successful, but it's way more painful doing it that way than it is to find a mentor or to find a coach or to take a couple classes in a certain thing to learn how to do it properly.
Right.
And I achieved that through Rich Dad Education. I mean, Rich Dad Education brought me to the level that I needed to go to.
Right, and that's all opportunity lost. If you don't know what you're doing and these deals are just passing you by and you don't know, and you just don't know. So you've got to invest in yourself, so that educate yourself so that you can make smart deals, wise deals, so that when they come along, you can, identify them and say, hey, that's a good deal. I know what I'm doing now. And now you go and you take that risk. You have your money, you have, some money set aside. Now I can go and take that risk and reap the benefits from it. So.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, I hope that this video has given you some information that you can use. Hopefully we give you a little inspiration that if you're wanting to do this and don't know how to do it or afraid that you can't do it, you think it's impossible, that you can look through Billy's story, my story, and say, we can do that. If they can do it, we can do it. If he could do it on $18,000 a year salary, I was just looking for $100 a day when I started my first company. If I was $100 a day, I was doing great compared to what I've been doing the rest of my life. So, it's not all huge. It's small steps, baby steps forward to make it happen. But we appreciate y'all watching the video. Please press like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Billy, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.